nice, just be nice with each other, no big deal, man. So why do I have to pray 5 times a day? Why do you all have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be in the masjid? Why do have sisters have to wear hijab? Why do I have to stay away from the haram things? I mean, this is very important. We have to distinguish between Islam and non-Islam. It's not the same. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly in that verse, He says it's separate. They never come together under any circumstances. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ, as we mentioned, it is Him defending the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The second lesson, and I'll move on, is that you never rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He abandons you. Never. And you get this from the message from the surah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was conflicted. He was like, yes, clearly I know my religion and your religion will never be the same. But I'm going to wait for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse. Yes, we will not receive revelation. None of us will receive revelation. Right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help us in ways that fits Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're all going to be challenged, by the way, brothers and sisters. If there's any sisters here. We're going to be challenged. Our kids will challenge us. Some community members will challenge. We will be challenged. And the first thing that we always learn from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would always turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have this in the Ta'if, when the Prophet Muhammad was at Ta'if and people rejected him, he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? We have the same thing in Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he migrated from Egypt to Midian, and he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala under the tree. You see the same pattern, that you always turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salah ad-Din Ayyubi, I mentioned this last time I was giving a khutbah here. Salah ad-Din Ayyubi, during the battle of Hattin, right, it was a great battle. He took his army and they camped right out of Jerusalem. And every single night, the next morning they will ask him, are we ready to attack yet? And he says, no, we're not ready yet. And then the next morning will come. Everybody's resting, waiting for the battlefield. But one night, as he was kind of going around the camps and checking everybody, the entire army was up praying Qiyamul Layl and reading Quran and making dua. And then the next morning they asked him, are we ready? He says, now we're ready. And we get this from Umar ibn al-Khattab also. He says that you do not win because of your powers. You win because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet Muhammad relies on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer him. And sometimes we have questions that we don't know how to answer. Turn to Allah. Allah will give us the clarity, the basira, the insight, the intuition to answer certain things. Right? I know I haven't got to the surah yet, but the surah is easy. We can talk about the surah. I'm sure you all know it. Right? Because everyone's looking at the time like, when is this guy going to talk about the actual surah? But just looking at the circumstances of where everything is happening, there's such amazing lessons. Now let's get into the surah. So قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ, we got all you who disbelieve, we got that part. لا أعبد ما تعبدون. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون. I will not worship what you worship. In Arabic, this is what we call jumla fi'liya. So it starts with a verb. And it's phrased in the present tense. Okay? Because when you look at the structure of the verses, this is very important. So it's phrased in the present tense. In Arabic, present tense, so al-fi'l al-mudari' covers the present and the future as well. So present tense and future tense. That means, if you were to reread that surah, it means, I do not worship, la a'budu ma, I do not worship, nor will I ever worship what you've always worshipped. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is covering the present and the future. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Now, in Arabic also, you have ma a'bud, and you can also say man a'bud. You can say ma, or you can say min. The difference is that min would refer to a known entity. It would refer to a known entity. Ma would refer to an unknown entity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually belittling these gods that they are worshipping. So He said, لا أعبد ما تعبدون. that thing that you worship, I will not worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is belittling their gods. Now, وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. Okay. Nor will I worship وَمَا Why is it confusing me? قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. You will not worship what I worship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 2 He says, I will not worship, you will not worship what I worship, and vice versa. Now, here's a very interesting part. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Himself, He also uses مَا أَعْبُدُ. So قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. While it should have been مَنْ أَعْبُدُ, because Allah is known. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is known. Imam al-Razi, rahimahullah, has a very interesting explanation of this. Yani Allah used ma in both verses. Why? Because in that offer, in that proposal that they had to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if he would have agreed, the God that they would end up worshipping will not be the God that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would worship. You guys get that point? I'll say it one more time. So he said that even if the proposal went on, okay, and they decided that one year they worship their idols, the second year they worship Allah, or they worship God, that God will not be the God that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam worships. So Allah is saying it's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. No way. In no way that both will be. You cannot do both at the same time. Right? قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers the past tense, because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never worshipped idols. Never, ever, ever. Right? And subhanAllah, some of the scholars even say that Abu Bakr also never worshipped idols. He never worshipped turns at all. And obviously the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 2 and in verse number 4, He's covering the present tense, the future tense, and the past tense. Because you might say, why does Allah repeat things? And repetition in the Quran is not purposeless. There's a reason for it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly is saying, no chance. I will never worship your idols. I never worship the idols. And I will, just no chance. You close the doors. It's closed case. And you know, subhanAllah, if we were to bring us to this as Muslims, yani alhamdulillah, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Okay? But under this concept of worship, right, we might end up sometimes yani, tapping into other things. Right? What does that mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, from amongst the people, those who are going to take equals to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that means equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. They love them as they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they love Allah, and they also love these people the same way. The other meaning could be يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَمَا يَكُونُ حُبُّهُمْ لِلَّهِ. As they should love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they both are unacceptable. Nobody should share the love that we have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the number one, above all other types of love. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, another place He says, قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيل الله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if your family, your spouses, your parents, your children, your tijara, your trading, your business, your homes that you love, if all of these are more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then tarabbasu, then be very vigilant. Be waiting for the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we talk about this, it doesn't, okay, you might say, okay, I love my parents. We all love your parents, right? Yes, yes. Obviously, we all love our parents, we love our children. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does never want us to compromise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for somebody else. And this is what this surah is all about. Again, we're talking about big compromise, our faith, but about, again, the little compromises. When we mentioned the example of riba, I'm almost done, inshallah. When we mentioned the example of riba, of usury, okay, riba is never haram by the way. Astaghfirullah. Riba is never halal. Riba is never halal. And I know this gets really touchy when we're talking about Muslim community, because there are scholars that allowed us to use student loans to get education or even buy a house. But if you listen to anybody, they will never halalify riba or usury. It's not, they just allowed for you to purchase a house. But riba remains evil. It remains impure. It stays like that forever, it doesn't change. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that when you make that distinction between belief and disbelief at a big level, also make the distinction at the smaller level. Just because the bank says, oh, you go do it, doesn't mean you can do it. No, it's still not okay. And then again, as scholars said, okay, in certain dire needs, you're allowed to do it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closes the verse by saying, لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. To use religion and to mine is mine. They will never be the same. They will never be the same. And actually, there's a lot more to talk about that surah, but I want to be conscious of the time, inshallah ta'ala. If I want everybody to leave with, it's very simple. Surah Al-Kafiroon is all about us sticking to our religion and standing for our religion, even if society changes, even if everything around us changes, right? And they allow things, they don't allow things, legal issues, things change. We remain by our principles, we stay principled all the time. We stay by our morals, our etiquettes all the time. And the beautiful part of the order of the Quran is that the next surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says? إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ. When the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to you. Oh Muhammad, don't ever compromise. And when did the victory of the Prophet Muhammad came to him? Over 10 years later. When he conquered Mecca, at the conquest of Mecca. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly telling him that when you stick to your principles, when you stick to your gun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring you victory, no matter what. And the same thing will happen to us, brothers and sisters. Right? If we just think we can cut corners, if we just think that we can just kind of, oh, it's not a big deal, brother, no, you stick to your guns. You stick to your principles, you stick to the morals and the etiquettes of our religion, and we always win. No matter what, we always win at the end. Because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and I'll do this, I promise, the last thing, he says, مَنْ أَرْضَى اللَّهَ بِسَخَةِ النَّاسِ أَرْضَى عَنْهُ اللَّهُ وَأَرْضَى عَنْهُ النَّاسِ. Whoever pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if people are displeased, Allah will be pleased with him, and He will make people pleased with him. وَمَنْ أَرْضَى النَّاسَ بِسَخَةِ اللَّهِ أَسْخَطَ عَنْهُ اللَّهُ وَأَسْخَطَ عَنْهُ النَّاسِ. And whoever pleases the people on the expense of displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will be displeased with him and people will be displeased with him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always the Lord. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك جزاكم الله خيرا. Q&A? Well, you have your imam here asking questions. I hate Q&As, but sure. Somebody has any questions? Going once? So, repeat it again? Okay. So, in Arabic, and by the way, if anyone wants to leave, feel free. I don't want to feel like I'm holding you hostage. Okay, feel free. If you guys want to pray and head out, start getting some breakfast, it's not a big deal, inshallah. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says, مَا أَعْبُدْ أو مَا تَعْبُدُونَ, another word in Arabic that could be used is men. So you'll say, مَن تَعْبُدُونَ أو مَن أَعْبُدْ. Men is used for known objects, something that is known, right? And the word in Arabic is aqil, right? Something that is known. You would use men. Ma is something like unknown, something trivial, something like belittled. Throughout the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used ma, but not men. So it's understandable that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about their gods, He'll use ma, because He's trivializing it, He's belittling their gods. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 3, He says, وَمَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ, you will not worship what I worship. You would think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَنْ أَعْبُدُ, because the Prophet Muhammad, Allah is known. Okay? Imam al-Razi, he said that the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ, referring to something that is unknown, because even if they would to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their gods, it will be a God according to their understanding, not according to the understanding of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.